Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Gotham Day. What I always feel like is the first harbinger of spring, and it's actually nice out. It's about 50 out. She's Sarah Al-Badwi. I'm Andy Serling, and we have a 10-race car. We got lots to talk about, so we'll get right to work. Though I don't think we have to spend a lot of time in the stymie.
I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think we can handle that one. Anyway, you know the drill. Naira Bets, match 200. I've really gotten right in the match 200. I'm trying to get in the groove, Sarah. There's a new one 2 days ago.
How long have you been trying to get in the groove
No,
for?
it's this third day, and I really, like, bonus didn't pop in my head. Match did, so I feel, don't
You're a
worry.
natural.
There will be many, oh yeah. Anyway, you know, NairaBets.com, sign up, $200 match, blah, 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 blah. What else do we have, Eddie? Carryover, just under $20,000. Pick 6 starts in race 5 of our 10-race card. We also have a money-back guarantee on the Gotham. We've got one of these. You just flip right through them, Eddie, for the Fountain of Youth as well. You know how these work. Opt in over them. Cross-country pick 5. 3 at Oakland, 2 here, including the Gotham and Razorback. I'm looking forward to seeing that New What's New running against Magnitude. You know, he's gotten a class test, New What's New, but man, he's been good.
Yeah.
All right, and I don't know. I think he might really be good. 3:30 to 7 on Fox Business. We mean business today. All right, race number 1. We'll start with Bounty Banker, who I don't have an argument against. The track is good in Harrowed, by the way, so we'll see. You know, we have had. I think yesterday's track was not as speedy as Thursday, but I still think it was a big advantage. I think the biggest difference was the rail seemed good on Thursday, and the rail was bad. I think the rail was probably off yesterday. That was probably the biggest change. It's Harrowed, a different track. We'll see how speed is. Even if the track was playing fairly, this is just the horse to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that while this horse was making up some ground late off of that moment of pause in behind horses at the top of the stretch, I don't necessarily think that that was something that caused this horse to finish second. I think the winner was just going comfortably. And this horse just has 2 races that are fast enough to win here. And you have a lot of unknowns outside of that one with some horses trying the surface for the first time or first-time starters.
So what did I miss on Now You See Me, Now You Don't?
This horse is one that has to be kind of ready to go off the layoff, but I thought a good magic getting over to the dirt with a horse that they paid a decent amount for, $425,000, first-time Lasix, and in that turf sprint debut, there was only one horse that had experience in that race, and that ended up being your winner. I felt as though this one didn't break that well from the inside post. It did manage to save ground before angling out in the stretch in there, but I thought that with the experience of that race, at least being able to pass some horses and overcome that slow break to finish third was enough that we'll see. But we got total unknown on this surface.
Yeah, I don't really care what the horse did in its debut, to be honest. The turf sprint, it means nothing to me. My bigger problem is, why was Mike Maker debuting the horse in a turf sprint? A good magic. I know the second dam was some decent turf, but you know, you don't buy good magics for $425,000, New York breds or not, to run them in turf sprints. That to me is a knock. Maybe now going back to dirt, maybe the horse just wasn't ready. I don't really know. Of the horses that ran the turf, I'd be more inclined to go towards Illmatic, though I don't particularly have a big feeling about either of them. I guessed with the Bill Mott first-time starter. Sfumato, I guess, who's got some good works. It's a total guess. I know nothing about this horse, but is a half to Dolomite and a Connect. And, you know, when they bought this horse, I don't feel like Dolomite had really done that much, so I don't think the purchase price really of being low is a negative per se. And the dam actually wasn't that bad. She ran for Chad. Yeah, she ran for Chad. She was an Alpha Delta. Maybe it's a negative Alpha Delta sold, though I wonder if Alpha Delta sells more of the Colts and keeps a lot of the fillies. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
I wonder about that. We'll see. I guess with this one, I have no info. We'll see how things work out. But I think we both agree that the second horse we pick second is the horse to beat in this race. Race number 2 is the Busher. And we'll start with Interstate Love Song. And this was a really tough beat. And listen, I got lucky because I like 2 bits in here who was able to come in off the rail. And I don't think it was a case of Ricardo leaving the rail. I think she probably drifted a little bit. It was a mistake to go off the rail, obviously. But I don't know if it was the horse, if it was Ricardo as much as the horse. She ran very well. The question is, how comfortable are you with the figure's accurate?
Yes.
How comfortable are you that this is a figure you want to hang your hat on? And are you at all worried about this horse coming back just 22 days after this big effort?
The short period of time doesn't bother me as much. It's even though that this horse ran an 87 Beyer last time out, and that would be something that towers above this field, even if she were to regress by 10 Beyer
I agree.
points,
She's still the horse to beat.
got the edge on everybody else. So
And she's the
that
speed.
is the thing for
Well-
me that makes me believe that even if it's not going to be replicated, she's still the horse to beat.
So what do we think about the pace projector having Paradise as the speed? And that's not why I picked Paradise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Perhaps coming out of a race over at Gulfstream, but at the same time, I think that it could be up to whoever's more intent on it.
Yeah, that's probably true. And we'll take a look at her last race. You know, one thing I hope that people understand. The first quarter in the mile races at Gulfstream, first of all, you can't watch them because you can't see them because of the angles. And Gulfstream has really done a yeoman's job of making it really impossible to do trip handicapping anymore. A track where it was you could do great work trip handicapping, you now can't do any trip handicapping anymore. I really like on the big days when they have those two-turn turf races when they show a meaningless angle like underneath the horses around the
love
first
seeing the
turn
above,
and the
yeah.
most important part of the turf race. You have absolutely no idea what actually took place. That's one of my favorite because the other ones they put this idiotic board in the middle and they've got the starting gate where you can't see it, so they've got to improvise.
The extra angles are good
But
for replays,
they're-
not for the running. of
Right.
the-
It's like I don't love the angles we show in the Fox show. I watch the pan, but at least there is a pan. So if you don't like that, there's an alternative. If they want to show goofy things, just make sure you have the alternative for people that actually bet on the races. Having said all that, 25 isn't that slow. It's slow, but it's not. There's no run up.
Right.
So I don't know if fast this horse is. I kind of like this horse's last race. And the second horse came back and improved 6 Beyer points, a Brian Lynch horse. It wasn't a speed track last time. I thought this horse might have some upside. David's got her favored. Do you think she's going to be favored over Interstate Love Song? I don't.
I feel like Connections, perhaps, as well as this one with the $700,000 purchase price, and they
Do
love
you think she's bet off a purchase price?
Brad Cox, Manny Franco. I feel like it's more. I don't know. I think she might take more money.
He's usually right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, the other ones, I don't think Nikon's impossible in here. Once again, it's so hard to watch their races, but this horse did hit the gate and break slowly last time.
Yeah.
I don't know how good the race she's coming out of, but she did run okay in it.
She did.
She was best.
She took a step forward, and maybe you can say, okay, on debut, you can forgive that sort of number. Then she comes back over a wet track and doesn't really take that step forward. So the step forward that she took last time, I don't think it's a complete outlier given circumstance.
I agree. I think Current Yield will run better than her 58 Beyer. Chad has always liked this horse, so maybe she's better than that, but man, she's got to get a lot better to win this race. That's for sure. Race number 3, and I knew you'd pick Howling Wind
know.
because you
You
love
put this
Howling Wind.
replay in 'cause we talked
and
about it at
we'll
one
take a
time.
look at her last race. And I won't. I mean, I thought she got a very good trip in this race, but she has really improved.
She has, and what I like about her is that she seemed to be that one-dimensional type for so long, where she absolutely needed the lead, and she was one that was pretty comfortable with some slower fractions. So I thought that she had things more in her favor when she was successful in the past. That's not the case anymore. She's a horse that's had some difficulty at the start a couple of times, with that Princess Becca race being one of them, where she was also against the racetrack, and I thought she made up some ground and was the only one making up ground to finish 5th in there, still well beaten. And then she's just progressively still been in good form since then as they've stepped her back up in class. I also think that where she was entered ended up scratching last time, arguably a tougher spot than this.
Yeah, I actually saw Jimmy Ferraro, the trainer, in the hall that day, and I said to him, is Howling Wind okay? And he said, yeah. And I said, it was too tough. And he said, yeah, it was just too tough a spot.
Yeah.
She couldn't win that race. And, Jimmy's not a guy who does that. You rarely see Jimmy scratch his horses, and I respect Jimmy and also like him a lot. But also, yeah, I agreed with it. I said, we both sort of said it together, like she just couldn't win the race that she was in
No,
last
even
time
if
out.
she still ran
Right.
well, might as well point for something where she
Totally
looks
agree.
very
Right.
low.
And it's one thing if you're somebody that's constantly hunting. It's Jimmy runs his horses. You rarely see him scratch. And she was just over her head in that race. I totally agree with you. I've got her second. I've got a bet on Red Wine Whiskey in this race. This horse, this is my kind of horse, right? This horse had the bad stumble and then ends up on the rail 2 races back, right? So, has double. There was a dead rail in January 10th. Then last time out, ends up with a super wide trip against a gold rail. So this horse has had trouble and been against the bias 2 straight times, and I don't really think has run that badly. And if you go back, I know they were at Finger Lakes. the figures are good enough to win here, and obviously you don't disagree. You've got the horse second.
Well, look who she was facing at Finger Lakes.
Right. She's running against real horses. Bam's Bliss Kiss has been tremendous coming over here. And she's been against it here. And she still ran figures, that considering the bias weren't so ridiculously bad. I mean, look at the race yesterday that 6 horse, what was the horse's name? Flavian rode. The horse was way against the track last time and ran like a 30-something buyer and then came back and ran, 40 to 50 points faster. So I think this horse is really interesting here. The horse that I'm wondering about is Queens over 3s. I'll tell you, if I'm Kidding wasn't in this race, I would have bet Queens over 3s because Greg Sacco really, I think, has really moved this horse forward last time out. She ran last time. I mean, she wasn't on the dead rail. She was a little bit off it, but she ran very, very well last time.
She did. She's just been in good form, and you have to imagine that they try to go for the front here, right?
Yeah, they do, but
they
Ruben
have another
Silvera's on
horse
I'm
to that
Kidding,
outside.
and
Yeah.
Ruben rides speed horses like speed horses.
And that's why I don't have her in the top 4, because I agree. If I'm Kidding wasn't here, she would be a major contender.
I want to give a little chance. It was Big Hat Willie. Thanks, Steve, for that, the horse yesterday. I want to give Sunshine Lily a little look because she's a little dressed up, down because she was super wide against a gold
She
rail.
was.
I think she's a cut below these.
That
She
was my
hasn't really
concern,
got
too.
her act together. I wish she was a little bit better.
Yeah.
See what happens in race 3. Race 4, the Tom Fool. We'll look at 1/900. And, I was talking about this with David, and I know I'm sure you looked at it too, with the Lasix off. I don't have an issue with the Chick Lang being his worst race because the Lasix was off, because he got a ridiculous trip in what turned out to be you see a pace under 23 at Pimlico, and they were rolling because there's no run-up in those races. So it's a fair cause for pause, to be fair,
It
on a
is.
heavy, heavy favorite.
However, I don't hold that one race against him.
Totally loose, and if this is the kind of horse he's going to be this year in just his 4-year-old debut, we're talking about a horse who potentially could be a major, major player in the sprint division.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely. I think this race sets up for him well, and I think that given that Chick Lang, I don't know that you can make the argument off of just that race that, oh, he's a horse that runs so much better with Lasix and that he needs the Lasix to run some of those faster numbers. Now, is that a possibility? Sure,
Right.
but I think the pace of that race has to be considered, as well as just running in his 4th start, facing winners for the first time, and just getting a little bit tired late.
Well, I'll put it from another perspective. One of the reasons I like to look at Craig's figures on Timeform US is his perspective when pace comes into play. He gave this horse a 110 figure for breaking the maiden, which got a 92 buyer. 74 buyer in the Chick Lang, but he gave the race a 108 figure. So he doesn't even have that race significantly worse
Yeah.
because of the horse's position in the pace. And I think, whether or not you totally agree with his numbers, whether you agree with buyers, whatever you think, it is a perspective that suggests he really didn't run that much worse. And I think it's a fair perspective. I also think that Full Moon Madness is a dangerous horse. I don't know that he's not going to beat the 2 if the 2 runs his race. I will say one thing about this horse. He will benefit from drawing on the far outside. He has drawn the inside a lot. He has gait issues.
He does.
And I think the outside post will help him break more cleanly.
Yeah, I like that he's not going to be towards the inside, and he has races that would be competitive here if he runs one of his better efforts. I think he might be just a cut below if we see 1/900 show up as well.
He's going to win.
But
if
at
he
the
runs
same
first.
time, I think that he's the likeliest horse to finish second, as do you.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm really hoping 1/900 runs really well. Obviously, with Maggie and Tom, we like to see them do well. But beyond that, I think this horse has a chance to be a real player in a division, frankly, the sprint division, that could use some players.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Colloquial, originally I heard Colloquial was coming back in this race. I hope that, if he missed it, he doesn't have another issue.
Yeah.
And he's just another one of these sprinters. And there have been so many over the years. Obviously, I've been around a lot longer than you, more than anything, where they just can't stay sound. I mean, Groovy was such an exception where he could, and you may not know this, but Groovy ran the Derby. I believe he's the owner of one of the highest buyer figures ever, like 130 or 132. Yeah, he's an amazing, amazing horse. I remember him beating Turkoman in the Forgo, which to me was a very sad moment in my life as a racing fan. I love Turkoman.
Yeah.
You would have loved Turkoman. He's a black horse. He was so cool. You should, I don't know if there's any video available, but you should find a way to look up, and this goes
What
for you
year?
at home.
Do you know?
Turkoman, in 1986, he was a 4-year-old.
Okay.
86. He was a 3-year-old in 85. take a look and find the race he ran. I don't think the video is available of the Tallahassee at 6 furlongs down at Hialeah. And anybody home
take a
that
look.
knows about Turkoman's Tallahassee, and it's funny. I was talking about this race with Tony Kobitz actually recently. It's one of the most incredible performances you'll ever see in a lifetime. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on to race number 5, a race that was not quite as dramatically affected by scratches as the Stymie.
A little
But
bit of a runner-up.
you lost the 2 favorites, I would assume, out of this race.
Pick 6
And
carryover starts
Pick
here.
6
Thanks,
carryover.
Eddie,
Thank you,
for
Sarah.
the slate.
19 and change, just a little under 20. I think, we have to look at the replay of JJ's Ranger, a horse that I have some reservations about. But doesn't the potential exist for this horse to be loose now?
It does. I worry about this horse from a class standpoint, as well as this horse being one who was able to take that big step forward last time. And look, this horse has some faster races in the past where he's been able to have forward position and run a number that's similar to the one that he showed up with last time. But the horse was 31-1. The horse is not going to be as much of a price now because I think this race is totally scrambled in terms of where bettors might be going. And I don't think that you're going to get the 8-1 that he was morning line. I think you're going to be dealing with a horse that maybe has that price.
Well, if David made the morning line now, he would have made the horse 7-2 at the very most. So the morning line in this race is absolutely meaningless. And, you've got to, it's not a question of defending morning line makers. You know what I'll tell you was funny for me when I looked at that race, because this is a trainer that wins at a ridiculously high percentage. Shockingly, he trains for JKX. This horse had a little bit of a look for a horse that was 31-1, didn't he? Ran over his head in his first race off the claim. I didn't look at the rest of the field, and I'm not saying I expect him to run a 76 buyer, but he did have some back races. And I looked at him and I thought, I wonder if I would have been smart enough to have had this horse at 31-1. Probably not. I got to bet Mr. Holden back. I don't love Mr. Holden in here, but he does have plenty of dirt pedigree, and he got just completely eliminated when he stumbled at the start last time out, and he fell back. And I don't, he did stay inside, and I don't know how much he ran, but I don't want to hang my hat on a horse coming from Parks and a $7,500 conditional claiming race coming here for these connections. And I want to give Mr. Holden one more chance. The problem is with the scratches, now I'm talking about one of the favorites as opposed to a horse I was going to get about 5-1 on. So, I mean, let me ask you a question. Is it possible that Knox is going to be the favorite here? I mean, with all due respect, this is a funny rider to be riding a favorite here at Aqueduct.
Isn't it this horse or Mr. Holden who has the one start on dirt last time, that excuses or not, he did no running?
I think the 10's going to be favored.
You think so? Yeah.
Because I think people are going to realize the horse is the main speed in here. Without Skylander to go be forward in this race, where's the other speed? And they're going to see that 76 figure, and cheaper or not, this is a bottom level race here too.
Right, and he has numbers in the past on dirt.
I'd be curious, and David might be watching if you are, would David have made this horse favored if he knew who was going to end up in this race? Now, let me say something else. Maybe we run the first 4 races today and speed's not doing well.
Or it's not as pronounced.
Or not pronounced, because there's no question, if you look at the betting yesterday, they were sending it in on speed horses.
They were.
So I think that's a big factor as well. I don't know. I mean, Knox can win because there's nobody else near and the horse is dropping, but he's run in low-level races before. It's not like he hasn't been in...
It's been a while, but he has.
Well, it hasn't really. I mean, he ran a 17.5 non-winners of 3 lifetime when that was the bottom for the non-winners of 3 lifetimes. Yeah. So it's not as though... I mean, do you really think a non-winners of 3 lifetime 17.5 is necessarily... I know Captain Fabulation is probably better, but I don't know how much better it is than this race.
Yeah.
I guess it is this race when you consider all the scratches.
When you consider who's not here, sure, but... I don't know. I mean, I guess this horse has the reasons to say, look, the horse ran a little bit over his head and still ran okay behind Ridgewood Runner. Then he doesn't have any early position and does no running. Then he faces even tougher, and he's against. So I don't know.
The other thing is, he is a deep, deep closer with a rider who doesn't ride very often, that I don't think people have a lot of... I'm not trying to be nasty. It is what it is. And... this is just a funny horse to be... it's an easier horse to make the third choice than it is to make the favorites when the first two choices scratch. We're spending way too much time on this race. Let's get out of here. David actually texted me. Let's see what he said. He said he would not have made the 2 the favorite. If he
Okay.
had
Would
made
he
the
have gone
line.
with the 10?
He
Or
didn't say, but he
didn't
just said I would
elaborate?
not
All
have
right,
made the 2
interesting.
favorite. We'll take a break. We'll be back with the late pick 5.
You bet with Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Download the Naira Bets app to play today and get a $200 deposit bonus. Watch live horse racing. Get expert picks. Boost your bankroll with weekly promotions and hone your handicapping skills with exclusive tips and tutorials. Download the Naira Bets app now. Sign up now to claim your $200 deposit match bonus. You bet with Naira Bets.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Sarah and Andy, race number 6. I'm not overly confident on my selection, but I don't love your horse.
I don't
We'll look at
either.
Sugartown Sweetie's last race. I'm going to be honest, I am not betting horses that rode gold rails to what I think were exaggerated performances. I don't want this horse.
I'm with you, and I completely understand that perspective. I think that move up last time out was one that was exaggerated. I will say, though, that this horse showed a extremely improved early speed from the first start to the second start, and even if the number is somewhere that isn't going to necessarily be replicated in terms of the 67 buyer, don't we see really nobody with experience in this race? And at least this horse showed some speed last time.
Yeah, but do you really think the $150,000 Leanster, Daytime Dreamer, might not for Jeremiah, who's certainly alive with firsters? You've got a Yaupon for Tom Morley. I have to think there's some speed, and I'll tell you something else. I think the horse that I have is going to have some speed, and I don't mind. I would have put the 3 third in here, but I'm not going to put a 20-1 morning line that I think is a little interesting behind a couple of firsters that I'm guessing with.
Yeah, with experience.
It's one thing in a race where they all have form and you make those assumptions. This horse may end up loose. And listen, maybe the track, even Harold and Good, is still somewhat speed favoring. It's just not a horse that I'm going to bet on. Even Tony Dutrow has that horse for Niall Brennan on the outside.
Yeah.
That horse could have speed. There's too many firsters with pedigree from sharp outfits to suggest that there's not going to be any hitting here. As far as credit risk, Credit Risk ran a 58 buyer first time out in September, which could easily be a figure in the high 60s in this race. Now, the next time out, the horse didn't run that well, but
Those are
Daniela
better
Maria
horses.
was a lot better the next time out. I thought this horse tried to go a mile. They went a
She's not
mile
that
with this
far.
horse twice. I think Lisa probably looks back on it and thinks maybe I shouldn't have run this horse a mile. Now, maybe they were the only race that came up and she had no choice.
Yeah.
Last time out, this horse had a significant stumble, cost at the beginning, had a bad trip in there, and just had no chance after the stumble in that start. Now the horse cuts back to 6 furlongs, which I think the horse may want to do. And I think if you're able to see through the murk and get back to the first race, now maybe this horse, of course, cranked up first time out, that he'll never run that race again. Certainly entirely possible. But you know what? At 20-1, I'm going to lose some of my money on a horse that I think ran well enough first time to at least be a contender here, first time Lasix as well.
Yeah, there are excuses to make for this horse that are completely legitimate. And when you get into the array of first-time starters in here, it is that guessing game, and she is one of only a few horses that have a race that could win.
Yeah, so I don't mind taking a price at least. You know, it's one thing to, like, I guess the firster in the first race, but in this case, I'm gonna take one that has experience. See what happens. I mean, your 12 can win. I just can't
I
take
get
a
it.
horse like that on top off a gold rail. Race number 7. I'm going to be replays for this. What'd you do in race 7?
I went to the outside with the Sir Cartwright, hoping that this one, with the blinkers coming back on and a little bit less speed in the race, could potentially be effective.
Well, he's been against it twice in a row. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, you're talking about a horse that
Especially
was
two back, I
off
mean-
the rail last time, off the rail 2 times ago when you wanted to be inside, muddy track before that, 280 buyer figures. I don't disagree. He can win, but he's also pretty short on the morning line, which makes him less appealing to me.
Yeah, I mean, and look, he's one that, if you cross out the last 2 races, he makes a lot of sense and maybe should be one of the shorter prices in here, because I get that there are a couple of other interesting horses in here, but Calling Card has the layoff to contend with, and I don't know how good Fireballin' really is.
Those are fair questions. I wanted to make a case for Mozambique, but his last race was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, he was down the inside for the running, and he didn't do any running. I think he's a little dirtied up. As far as Calling Card, I can make fun of the handling of this horse because Kirk Wyckoff owns him, is a good friend of mine, and I've told him this. He
Interesting
doesn't, one
spots.
thing about Kirk, he doesn't mind. He and Jordan are more than happy to argue about things and hear differing opinions. They're not, unlike some trainers that throw hissy fits when they have bad trainer stats. They're actually grown-ups. I think this horse was badly mishandled. He runs this giant race here to Mile. They send him to Oaklawn to go to the New York bred, okay? Then they go down, they run him in the LeCompte and the slot at Fairgrounds. It's like they were determined to run him in every race. He had no chance. They tried the Gotham. He had trouble in the Gotham. He didn't even run that badly in the Gotham.
Yeah.
He actually didn't run badly. Then they ran him on the turf. Then he got into Mike Lee, and speed was good. And he was running against at that time. Unfortunately, the trainer horse got hurt. That horse was a killer. I mean, and you weren't closing on that racetrack anyway.
Doesn't it just look like we wanted to try to get in the Derby if we could, and then
Yes, they were insane.
we realized we
because
couldn't
those
too late.
complexities
You
are
know,
dying to go a mile and a quarter.
Clearly.
The reality is he's back where he belongs. Now, he's going to have a problem if speed is really good because he doesn't have any speed, and that's problematic. I think if the track is fair and he comes back, he will smoke this field. And Mike Maker, at Naira, 6 to 12 month layoffs in dirt sprints is 7 for 19 with a 271 ROI.
all right.
That's my. But I'm not as against. I'm not that you're wildly against Fireball, and
No, I mean I have him third, and I think he has an excuse for last time. But is he really that good? I don't know.
he was terrible last time. I mean,
Yeah.
I know he was off the rail, but he was bad. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm married to calling card. We'll see. Maybe I'll have
Understandable.
another excuse. I can make another excuse for why I was wrong about him.
That's always the
so I'm
hope.
doing a good job with that.
You are, yeah.
So the Stymie is obviously a ridiculous race at this
Yes.
point. We'll shove Phileas Fogg in the Woodward. I know he's probably going to sit second to your horse. I think in all likelihood, if he comes back, he's too good for these. But you are going to try to beat him with a horse whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce.
Yeah, apparently it means something about the dappling of light in between leaves in Japanese, because I looked that up and definitely did not know that off the top of my head. But I guess the Fine Form pace projector has him ahead of Phileas Fogg, and I think with all the different tinkering that they tried to do with Phileas Fogg, who was in great form, I don't know that it really was to his benefit whatsoever. They try to put on the blinkers, then he doesn't make the lead, and he's not forward in the cigar. He doesn't run well.
Why did they put the blinkers on?
I have no idea,
Because
to not
the
go?
rider steered. Because the rider, I don't. I mean, I didn't
I don't
understand the blinker
understand the
move last
correction
time.
from the Jockey Club Gold Cup with adding the blinkers. I didn't get the whole move.
Obviously, if Phileas Fogg is the good Phileas Fogg, he's going to be 1-9 in this race. He's going to win, but you're going to try to wire the field.
Yeah, with a horse who I think has been facing somewhat equal company overall. He has a couple races that are fast enough to be competitive, and I just don't trust Phileas Fogg off the strange decisions that have been made over the past couple
It's
races.
fine. I don't totally trust him either, to be honest with you. So I get it. I think Phileas Fogg is better. The good Phileas Fogg is better than the horses he's been running against, but it's not like he's been running against a bunch of plow horses. He's running against some decent horses.
Yeah.
Race number 9 is a fun one, and we'll take a look at Donegal Surges in the race 2 back. He got disqualified in, and Kendrick's down in first I thought, oh, they took Kendrick off because he did give this horse an atrocious ride last time, but I guess Kendrick's riding he's going to be last in the
somebody-
Fountain of Youth in Napoleon Solo, right?
Yes.
He was his original rider. Joel picked it up because he was suspended, I think, right?
I don't know.
When he ran, because I know he was the original rider in Napoleon Solo. This horse got. Listen, I understand this race kind of fell apart and the rail was good last time, but if you look at the ride that the winner of the race got, Yo Daddy, who's in the Stymie, one of the few that remains, he actually saved a little bit of ground and got a good ride. This was almost like, well, I'm in a bad spot. It's an inside speed track. My horse is a closer, so I'm going to sit out as far wide as I can, make a wide, ridiculous move. I actually thought he ran pretty well last time.
Yeah.
The concern, though, is the pace. Now, I don't know how strong the pace is going to be, and I think it's a problem for yours.
Yep.
I think the pace relies on Brigadier General going, because they have to go with this horse, but I always worry about long layoff horses, whether or not they can be reliable to show the speed they once had, right?
That's a fair point. I also think maybe on the flip side of that, though, when horses are coming in off a layoff and they're generally speed types, maybe they're a little bit more antsy to go and show a little bit more speed. So I think it could go either way.
It could work both ways. Yeah, that's a fair
But
point.
I will say it's really him and V Cruiser, if he gets out at the gate, who are the horses who look to be forward in here, right? Because
My problem
there
with
isn't
V-
as much speed.
My problem with V Cruiser, and I could understand somebody at a price wanting to bet him. He obviously had no chance last time anyway. The problem I have with V Cruiser is I don't think he's very good. I think he's completely dressed up off a ridiculously slow pace in a speed-friendly situation 2 races back. I don't know how good he is, but if the 6 doesn't have speed, the potential exists for him to be the controlling speed here.
It does,
So
yeah.
I can sort of understand the argument for taking him at a price.
Yeah, I have him 4th. I mean, I think that others like him more than I do, but he makes some sense given that you can excuse the last race, and it looks like he could be the one forward from the outside.
You know, Sarah, in every race, there will be others that like horses more than you and I do.
I think
every
so.
race.
And also
Always.
less.
And less, yes,
Yeah.
and less too. My problem with Dreamlike is at the same price, I like Donegal Surges more. That's my problem with Dreamlike, who I
But
don't
are they the
disagree
same
with.
price?
Well, they're I misread 9 to 2. They're similar. I don't
Yeah.
know. The other thing about Dreamlike is honestly, he's a little unreliable.
You think so? I felt
A
like he's
little bit.
been one who's shown up in several of his
Yeah,
last races.
He did run okay last time. I mean, he got closer, but he was wide in the first turn last time.
I thought that
He
he
can
had
win.
been kind of unreliable when he was with Fletcher, but I think
Fair.
that since he's been with
Well-
Linda, he's been more consistent overall.
Well, he also ran a lot of. Wasn't he the
Much
horse that kept
tougher
running in
spots.
stake races as a maiden?
Yes, he finished second in the
Right.
PA Derby, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid that horse that ran second to Emerging Market is going to have the same problem. They're running
Yeah.
him back in the Tampa Bay Derby. I mean, they don't have enough Derby horses. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Not my horses. I don't pay the bills.
Right.
That horse is obviously very good.
You don't have him in the mix. What about Castle Chaos coming back?
I just don't
Do you think he can run it all anymore? No. Okay.
He showed me too frequently he couldn't run anymore. I hope he can. You know how much I like Rob and such, but this is a pretty tough field
It
because
is.
he's going to have to run his good race to win.
Yeah, he needs
You
to be
know?
ready to go, and it's a question of whether or not he can run the same kind of races we saw in the past. So
The horse
get
I
it.
want to use at a price here is Whittington Park because I love him in the one-turn mile. I thought he ran really well last time, and if the pace develops, he's one I want to use. I almost went 11-4 because of his big price. I'd actually liked him. He was in a race that was canceled once or twice. We brought
Yeah,
back
yeah,
and he didn't run. Now maybe he got sick and he's back. Regardless, I think he's a little bit interesting. This
He
is a
is.
fun race.
It
This
is, yeah.
probably the most entertaining race from that standpoint on the card as we come to the Gotham. And, we obviously have different opinions in the Gotham. I think Iron Honor, and I know he's a heavy favorite, and I have no issue with somebody who wants to bet against him. That's fine. I do not agree with the notion that the racetrack helped him last time.
I don't think the racetrack helped him
I'm
last
not
time. I have a couple of stats that I'll get into in a moment of why I'm not as into him, but I think that he's one that if you believe that he is the goods for Chad Brown and going to improve off of that first start, it's not as though he would need to improve much from a buyer speed figure standpoint, and he also showed that he can get into a little bit of a fight and still go buy another horse.
Improve much. If he runs back to his debut, he's going to smoke this field. There's nobody in this race that can run it, has shown any inclination that they can run a 90 buyer. Sorry.
No, I'm with you.
And I believe it was as much inside as speed, if not more, last time out. And this horse was never on the rail. And you're chasing outside on an inside track can be a bad move. He has trained well since that race. And I think that he is the goods, this horse. And maybe I'm a little biased. I took the 122 to 1 on him in the Derby pool for $20 because that's just absurd.
Yeah.
He's not 18 times less likely to win than Paladin, the Derby than Paladin is.
It's fair.
He might be 6 times less likely, but he's not 8 times likely.
My future is
less
on
likely.
Chip Honcho, so I hear you. But look, Chad Brown maiden winners last time out on dirt, going into graded stakes competition, 4 for 35 over the past 5 years. With 3-year-olds only doing so, 1 for 20. That one was early voting's win in the Withers. And so
Who are the horses, though, that were really good that didn't win them?
everybody else in the 20 sample
No,
size
they weren't
of
all.
horses that-
Who are the? Yeah, that's the question because he does take shots in these races sometimes, and I'm just wondering how many of them failed at super short prices. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, now with the favorite, he is 1 for 1, as early voting was that favorite.
Well,
but I
there you
think a
go.
couple of them have been some shorter prices. Now, Iron Honor is going to be the favorite in here. I will say horses out of that race that he was in last time out, they did regress in their next start. The second place finisher ran a 79 buyer, then a 91, then
Right.
an 85.
Second place finisher ran he ran a 91, right.
Behind
but he was
Iron Honor
also
and
on the
then-
gold rail in this race, so he rated to regress. And the other thing about Right to Party, to be fair, is he was on the rail. He spent an enormous portion of that race in a row. I completely disagree with David in this race. I don't think he did any running. I thought he made a little bit of a move in the turn. He didn't gain any ground. It's just nobody else was running in there, and he stayed on the rail. I think it was the rail. I have a very different view of this. We'll see. And I'm up here defending the merits of a super short price, and we're going to run out of time. So let's take a look at Balboa, who you've got third, and I don't like at all. My feeling is if he couldn't beat My World, I don't want him.
Yeah, I did not like that last race at the short price that he was, and I think that he's one that maybe it will take a step forward with a little bit more distance, and the number on buyers being similar to that race that he ran in the Remsen, where I thought he actually ran very well, attacking the pace and still being involved in the later stages at a big price. It was a short field last time, but I was disappointed, and he draws the rail, and there's other speed.
Well, I guess the argument, if you want to like him in here, is, and I agree with you, I think if you just look at the Remsen, suddenly he is a real contender in this race.
If he was coming in off that.
Maybe coming back 4 weeks later, maybe he needed a little more time. Now he's had almost 2 months since that race, so maybe he'll run better. So to be fair, if you draw a line through his last race, not that he ran terribly last time, just a little disappointing not winning. Not that My World's a bad horse.
No, but I don't really think he would be a horse I'd want to bet in here.
Well, if you didn't have the Jerome in there, you would like him more, right? I mean, you've got him third.
My
You
World
obviously
or
like him more
Balboa?
than I do. Originally, I would like him more.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the horse you like, Hammond, who I agree with you is very interesting here.
Yeah, I think he's one that has shown he can pass horses, and he certainly got off to a good start with his career. I like that he's been able to gradually stretch out in distance, and I thought that he was one that looked interesting where he didn't get off to the greatest of starts in that last race and still managed to run on at a big price behind 2 horses that are major contenders in races heading towards the Kentucky Derby later today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think Last President's going to be 10-1 in the Rebel.
I don't think so either.
Quite a morning line they got for that race with the favorite, the 7-2 second choice. I kind of disagree. I think his first 3 races are awful. Mediocre at best. I thought he ran really well last time. I mean, he didn't break. He made that big middle move. I thought he ran the ride he got. I was shocked it wasn't Joe Bravo, because that's the Joe Bravo move. Let's look at Crown the Buckeyes racing the Gun Runner. You know, does he move up a little bit? I mean, I don't share your enthusiasm for Chief Honcho. I think has as much chance to win the Derby as you and I in a horse suit. Chip Honcho. We'll take a look at Crown the Buckeyes race, Eddie.
Gun Runner.
If you think Chip Honcho's good, why don't you like him here?
Because I think that he's going to have to deal with the speed towards the outside of Dirty Rich, who I think if they're coming here, they're not exactly planning on rating him, right?
I don't agree with the pace projector. I thought he'd be in front too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Weird
on that.
to think that, but I had a little bit of a feeling that the horse stretching out from 6 furlongs, who's been on the lead in most of his starts, would be.
Except he closed, I know it was Mahoning, but he got an 85 buyer when he closed at Mahoning to win 3 races back in 1 16th around 2 turns. So what's to say at 1 turn he can't rate?
Maybe. I mean, we'll see. I think that he's one that they haven't been employing those tactics over the last 2 races, but it's in there, so you make a good point.
Yeah, he's not going to be in front in this race. I don't think they can expect. My goofy long shot in here is 4th and 1. I don't know if he's good enough, but he had such a preposterous trip last time out. And if you thought he was a little interesting, and I know some people did, he was only 12-1 in that Withers. It was also a weird race. Not only the bias, the race. I thought he could be 3rd or 4th at a huge price in here.
He can definitely has every right to run much better than he did
Put it this way,
last time.
at a similar price, I'd rather bet him than Exhibition Only, who took advantage. I mean, I think Exhibition Only was likable last time, but let's be honest, I think his performance was dressed up a little bit by the racetrack.
I'm with you.
So I'd rather bet on a horse like that who's dressed down than a one who's dressed up. Sarah, it was fun. We are out of time. Head over to Naira Bets. Use the promo code MATCH200. I see.
You
I
jinxed
jinxed
yourself.
myself. You're right. I did it. It's my fault. Use the promo code, and we will match up to $200 of your initial deposit. We have a $19,875 carryover in the Pick 6. Starts in race 5, our 10-race card. We've got $10 win back, you know, that drill on this stuff. We got one for the Gotham. We got one for the Fountain of Youth. We'll go through them quickly, Eddie. And then we have a cross-country Big 5, the highlight of Eddie's day, every day. 2 at Aqueduct, 3 at Oaklawn, including the Gotham and the Razorback. Do you think that Magnitude's going to win, or do you think that new, what's new, beat him?
I don't know. I think Magnitude's pretty good.
I do too. I'm a big Magnitude
Yeah,
fan.
I know you've been a fan of his for a while.
I'm excited to see that horse run because I don't know that he's getting an acid test running against a horse like Magnitude, but maybe just turning 4 and stretching out, he's the real deal. That's a fun
It's an
matchup.
interesting race,
Even
for
if you're
sure.
not betting it, that Razorback's a fun race. Don't miss that race. That could have some implications on what could be a really good handicap division this year. I am not ready to just concede that it's sovereignty and everybody else. I want to see journalism. I want to see Baeza. I think it could be a very good year for the older horses. And last but not least, Fox Business. We mean business today, 3:30 to 7 here and Oaklawn. Big team down at Oaklawn. Of course, their biggest day is tomorrow, or their bigger day with the Rebel, but some good races there as well. Sarah, thank you. Thanks for watching. Chris, you're up next with a reprise, the Scratched and Changes. Have a great day.
NYRA Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Download the NYRA Bets app to play today and get a $200 deposit bonus. Watch live horse racing. Get expert picks. Boost your bankroll with weekly promotions and hone your handicapping skills with exclusive tips and tutorials. Download the NYRA Bets app now. Sign up now to claim your $200 deposit match bonus. You bet with NYRA Bets.